invariably all
So,
the edges either miss those fielders or fly over them.
we probably had a very brief discussion on Python in previous classes, if you remember. We focused more on Pandas, which is also Python only, but it's a different framework which we focused more. Right now, we are again going back onto the core Python refresher, which will again include same things like lists, tuples, strings, how to handle those, how to call elements in each one of them, and as well as what to use, when to use, how to use, like which data type is actually required when. This is what something let's see today, and also see the differences between each one of them. Give me 1 second. Yeah, sorry. Can anyone tell me like what exactly lists are, or simple definition what is a list, so that I'll see what you know and what I need to tell.
So basically, lists are mutable and or changeable ordered sequence of elements.
Okay, a simple definition which we got is sequence of elements. That is good. So what could be the sequence of elements? So what are all those elements which you can give as a part of list, and what you cannot give?
List can be strings, numbers.
Are we only looking at one data type, or can you mix up multiple data types in list?
Can mix up multiple data types.
Okay, so is it a good practice to mix up multiple data types, or is it a bad practice? Or do we really, in real-time situation, do you think that really we will get a scenario where you will have a list with multiple data types? So it is good we know that list can actually accommodate multiple data types together as elements. Okay, that is one thing which we are very sure, and we can always mute modify the list, remove elements, add elements, or do some operations on elements. Basically, CRUD operations which we call create, read, update, delete. So all these operations we will be able to kind of apply on list, that we are very sure about. Now coming to a situation, or coming to this scenario, do you really think that in real-time situation you will be getting a problem statement which will include multiple data types together in one list, or something like this? So maybe let's say a equals to let me say my name Anurup, then something like 10, then let me take Manjula's name, then 20, and so on. Do you think such kind of data will be given to you to do some task, or to do some operations on this list? But why? Why I am actually asking all these questions is because we will come to a conclusion why lists are even evolved. Okay, why not other data types can accommodate all these elements? Why we need to explicitly have a data type called list which can accommodate multiple data types together? So we cannot convert Anurupa and Manjula to integers anyway. So how we can deal. So even like simply accessing each one of the elements, we can simply do for I in A. So you kind of iterating it in a loop, and then you say simply print I. That will print each element. Okay, or you can even print the type of the element. Now you can each element has been printed, and then we can also say type of data, and then comma type of I. So we can just print this. You can see Anurup string 10 int, Manjula string 20 int. So we are very sure about this, that we can access each element no matter what data type it is. But can you give me one scenario where multiple data types of data will actually exist to do some operation or to solve some problem? Can you think of any problem which includes multiple data types in one single list together? Now you can finish the thing. Hmm. Then we use dictionary, right? For each person, we will kind of assign one dictionary because we have multiple data of one single person. So what we basically do, we refer to dictionary at that particular point of time. Then we say we'll ensure that, okay, let me take my example only. So I am Anurup. So for Anurup, I may have multiple like what keywords. So firstly, this is okay. Let me just do like this. Okay, let me say name is Anurup. Then you have age. Okay, and then you just put something else, something else, something else, and so on. And this will be a dictionary, and this will be one dictionary, that is Anurup's dictionary. So whatever data which Anurup has, let it be educational data, date of birth, age, or any other data. That will go into this dictionary as with each key, so that we can simply call this key to kind of get the data. Even here, if you kind of say that I'll just save Anurup 10, sorry, let me just say Anurup 25, that like assume that it is my age, and then my date of birth would be 16 1602 1999. Okay, so this is my date of birth. So if I save this as one single list, okay, and I have passed you to kind of save the same thing in your way, or in your variable with your data. So assume that you have misplaced name and age. So you might have entered age first and name later. When you are accessing elements, what happens? Your order may miss, and instead of passing on the name, you may pass on the age. So just to take an example in the same thing, let me copy the same. Let me take B, and here instead of passing on the name, I have passed age, but also in string. Here I'll pass name, and this is my date of birth. So whoever is entering the data, or whoever is responsible to kind of acquire the data, if they are by mistakenly doing these mistakes, okay, unknowingly doing these mistakes, when you are accessing elements from both of these lists, something like for I in zip A comma B, Okay, so I'll print I comma j. So firstly I'll say, yeah, let me print this way only, I, and then let me say simply data. Okay, so now what I am assuming is, firstly, okay, what happened? Okay, I comma j, right? Sorry. So I want to print name beside name, age beside age, date of birth beside date of birth. Let's see what happens. So now we can see, first of all, after name after you got age, nothing but you got first element from here, first element from here, then you got 25 as a number, and then Anurup as a string in the second iteration, and in third iteration it printed correctly. But in first two iterations it printed wrongly because somebody who is responsible to enter data, he entered it in a wrong way. Nothing but he mistakenly kind of jumbled the indexes. So when you are taking multiple types of data or multiple data types of data, lists are very least used. Always it will be, always dictionaries are used as better practice, because in dictionary, for each element which you kind of give, or for each value which you provide, like name, age, or something else, so on, you will have a key, and you can call everything by key, and you can never mismatch names with age or age with names and so on, until unless the value itself is wrong. Until unless the value itself is wrong, you can always call name by name, age by age, and date of birth by date of birth, or anything else as well. Okay, so lists are only used in prototyping scenarios, but lists are actually very very memory consuming data types. So when you are when you are using lists for multiple data types, the list operations gets very slow, and in real time practice, nobody will ever use lists for multiple types of data. Okay, 99% of the time you won't use lists for multiple data types. We have the cleverest to use, but nobody will use that as a better practice, because list will consume a lot of memory when you mix up with multiple data types. Okay, so when you have multiple data types and you also know what each value is, something like, this is name, this is age, and this is date of birth, you can simply use a dictionary and assign key for each thing. And when you call anything by key or anything, the operation time for dictionaries is very less, and you will there will be no confusion between what you are calling or what you are actually printing outside in your console, or maybe in any real time situation. So did you understand why did I use zip here? Did you come across this particular keyword called zip? Okay, so when you have equal lengths of lists, okay, it is very key, please listen to my words very carefully. Zip can be only used when you have equal lengths of list. Now you can see that my length of this list A is 3, even length of list B is 3. So I can probably call parallel elements together, something like first element I can call that along with first element, second element I can call along with second element, third element I can call along with third element. So where can you use these zip situations is when you have a scenario that you have marks of students for multiple subjects, you want to add them and show the total of the subjects. Okay, again, this is also when you don't have it as a pandas data frame, you do it this way. If not, it like pandas is mostly used for any kind of multi-dimensional data. So just as an example, so we have mass marks for 10 students, or let me take only 5 students for now. 10 out of 10, 9, 8, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and then I have physics also. 10, 5, 6, 8, 9. Okay, so now what I want to do is I probably want to kind of add both of these marks and say each. Okay, I'll also write names of the students. Okay, so names is equals to a comma b comma c comma t comma e. Okay, so we have 5 students and we have their maths and physics marks, and now we have to add these both of the marks. So what you could do in this kind of scenarios, there are other syntaxes from collections library as well. I don't want to kind of go into that depth today. That is an easy syntax, but I don't want to kind of get into that today. Let's see what we can do with zip. So now in zip, I can simply say for I comma j comma k. So now I will be my names. Okay, j will be my maths, k will be my physics. So each element from names, maths and physics will be brought out. Okay, and then what I'll do in zip names comma maths comma physics, I can now simply add up the elements and show. Okay, so print I comma j plus k. So now let's see what happens. Now you see for student A, the total sum of maths and physics is 19. For B, it is 13. For C, it is 13. For D, it is 16. For E, it is 18. So we have 5 different students, 5 different marks, and you can actually cross-verify if it's printed correctly as well. Okay, so zip will basically combine 3 different lists, okay, parallelly, and call each parallel element together, like all first elements together, all second elements together, all third elements together, fourth elements together, and fifth elements together. And this will work for any data types. Later, if you want to also use this for dictionaries, yes, you can use for dictionaries as well. Zip can be used for any data structures. Okay, so we have seen an example with lists. I can wait for a couple of minutes to try out about zip, and then we can continue discussing about tuples. And okay, well, before even we kind of continue, I can just do one thing, add one more element here, 0, and then run this. You will see there will be an error. Okay, did I not run it properly? Oh, this is one finding I am also doing. It is ignoring the last element. In earlier versions, it used to throw as an error saying that the lengths of the lists are not matching. But right now it is also doing this exception. Let me also check by adding this as well here once. Yeah, still it is working. So so no matter if the lengths of the lists are different, it is still working. So you can try out once and then let me know. We can continue further. You can also check how it maps. Please try. I am just writing one more line here to kind of show you how the mapping structure will happen. So I'll just take a different variable called mapped is equals to zip of names mass physics, and then I'll print mapped as well. And now, okay. Print of yeah. So once you are done, just check this line number 16 and 17 as well. So what I am trying to do, I before even I am using zip in for loop, I kind of represented only zipping the elements and show you how it kind of combines the element. You can see for A, it took 9 and 10 from each of the lists. For B, it took 8 and 5. For C, 7 and 6. For D, 8 and 8. For E, 9 and 9. There might be a spelling mistake. Uh, can you share your screen? So you just a simple mistake. After mass, there is a dot instead of comma. Yeah. Yeah. So I will kind of cover up some very interesting things which you might not have covered in the basic Python. Something like zip. I do have some more in mind. How do you kind of do list slicing? Maybe you say list is equals to, or maybe yeah, some a is equals to, you have some values from 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5, and if you want to kind of print from 2 to 5, then you say print a of 1. So from 2 is my first index, so then you kind of leave it to print until the last element, if I am not wrong. So let me run this. You see, like, it is printing from 2 to 5, but instead of
Actually, your
just,
screen is not sharing number.
oh shit, yeah, resume presenting, yeah. Now can you see?
Yes.
Yeah, so when you do list slicing, you probably kind of use this syntax. You start with square braces, starting with what is the index of the first number, colon, then you kind of leave it if you want until last number, or you kind of give it give any second index from maybe from 2 to 4 if I want. So I probably say from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll just put 4. So from 2 to 4 it gets printed. Okay, this gets printed from 2 to 4. Let me, sorry, give me 1 second. Yep, 2 to 4 it gets printed. Yep. So now the other way of doing it is, so this thing you can also replace with some other syntax. So you can just say print a of 1 colon, okay, so here instead of index, what if you want to pass on the number? Okay, so you know the index that say number 2 index is 1, and from there you want to give this like what you want to get the numbers until this index. But what if you don't know the index? What if there are hundreds of numbers in this, and you want to start from certain number, and then from that number you need to kind of get all the numbers. Okay, maybe from first index I want all the numbers. Then what you do? Did you understand my question actually? Sorry if I am confusing you a bit. Can anybody repeat my question? If you understood, or else I will repeat again my question.
Yeah, repeat it.
So now we have 5 numbers, 1 to 5. Okay, and in these 5 numbers, if you want to slice this list and get some sub list from this thing, you kind of use this syntax saying you start from my sub list will be from 2 to 5. Okay, so then you start with index 1 colon and leave it at the end, so that you'll get the elements until the last element,
Last
2 to
element.
5. So you got
Okay.
this. So what if you don't know that this is the index and you want to start from number 2?
Mm.
So, or else I'll take a real time example. Let me say I have a B. Okay, I'll just put some 1,000 numbers in B. Okay, for x in range 0, 1,000. So now I'll just print B. In B, I'll have 1,000 elements. You can see in B, I have 1,000 elements. Okay. So now what is my question? If you want some number called 36, from 36, you want all the numbers towards the right until the last element. You don't know the index of 36. Okay. Then what you do? How do you kind of slice the list? And these are sequential numbers. Now, even now, you can still identify, okay, 36 minus 1 will be my index, 35 will be my index, and you can do that. But what if I have all the random numbers? Okay, that is my scenario. What if I have all 1000 random numbers and you specifically know one number is 36 in one of those in numbers, and starting from 36, you need whatever the numbers you have towards right. What do you do? Is the question.
So, I mean, the first we have to find out our index.
How do you find out the index?
Um,
Or else let me also generate it in a random list only. So let me do random dot randint 0 to 1000 for I in range 1000. I'll just there is a library called import like random, which will generate all the random elements. Okay, so I'll just now show you B. You can see in B I have 1000 elements, but very randomly distributed. So now, as per your solution, like the proposal, so assume that if I have this 48 numbers starting from 48, I want all the numbers towards right to be sliced. So you will now find out the index of 48 first, and then again slice it using the same syntax which we have used in line number 27. Okay, and you will get it. This is completely okay. What if there are more numbers, or maybe what if you want to do it in very simpler way? See, if you want to find out the syntax, you will again have to kind of create a variable called B or C. Then you will say index list dot index of this particular number. That variable contains the index. Then again you have to replicate the syntax in line number 27. Pass on that variable as index, and then slice it. But there is some easier way as well. Now, is it clear? Okay, so I am just asking, there is how do you do in a more simpler way? I will do one thing. I will give you the solution, but not entire solution. Just it's a very brainstorming exercise. Okay, there is something called as ellipsis. So instead of using like leaving it out here, you can probably use ellipsis here. Okay, ellipsis is nothing but 3 dots together, collinear dots. And now if I probably run this thing, this should work. 4 dots, 3 dots. Okay, invalid syntax, 3 dots. Okay. Okay, fine. I will, if I just take one more step, I will be revealing the entire solution. 3 dots is a syntax called ellipsis in Python. Please check what is ellipsis. Then how do you kind of solve my question which I gave you? So it is very simple. This is your question or the data for the question. Select any random element and you need to subslice the list towards the right. Okay, using ellipsis, 3 dots. you come up with a solution how you can kind of use this to get that done in a very simpler way. And now I have one more question as well. Sorry. For this, I will kind of solve, I'll give you the answer. I have a tuple. A is equals to some tuple 1, 2, whatever it is. Okay. So I want to only store second element without using indexing. I want to kind of store this second element called 2 in a variable without using indexing. So what people will usually do, if I say I want 2, they'll say a of 1, which will call 2, and then they will save that in B. Okay, this is fine. And B contains 2. Let me print B. And let me just comment all this stuff. Yeah. And you can see I am printing B, and B has 2. But instead of using indexing, I want to store 2 in a variable, but think something else. Again, I don't want 1. I only want 2. And sorry, did you understand what did I do here? I am using a single line for loop statement. That's it. For I in range 1000, this is a regular for loop. And simply I am kind of enforcing list comprehension method, which is I am closing everything under a square brace. Nothing but I am dynamically creating a list of 1000 random numbers. That is what I'm doing. This one I have also used earlier here. I for I in list of mapped. Here I'm kind of creating a list of mapped elements. I am simply like instead of writing multiple lines like this, I am writing in a single line and storing it in a list. That is what I am doing. That's it. This is also a very good practice when you are having when you have to store elements in a list, you looping on them. Can you think of any way like how to store elements? Can you think of any way? It is very simple. I am hoping that my audio is my conversation is audible.
Yes, yes.
Simply you can do C comma D equals to whatever the tuple 1 comma 2. Okay, so now what happens? C will have 1, D will have 2. That's it. Let's print C and D and check. Print C comma D. I'll kind of comment this. And you can see C and D has 1 and 2. And if you want to ignore, you can also use underscore as a variable. Okay, so underscore also can be used as a variable. You can see here what I'm doing. Underscore comma D equals to 1 comma 2. Okay, so you can leave out underscore and you can only use D. Okay, let me copy paste again down. C comma D here, and then underscore comma D. It is one and the same. Only underscore is the character which will be allowed as a part of the initializing variable. No other special character can be used in when you are initializing a variable apart from underscore. So you can also use underscore as an alone alphabet or special character in order to store any variable. Even the best practice when you are writing a for loop also, when you don't, if you are doing very regular things like looping over some list or maybe generating some random numbers, you could simply do for underscore in range and so on. So you need not always use I, J, K, whatever. You can also use underscore, which people will understand that as a best practice. Any developer alongside you will understand that, okay, this is simply a loop which doesn't have any variable, loops over some list or maybe generates some random numbers or do some other regular thing, unlike doing some operation inside for loop. So only underscore can be used in such scenarios. So this is one interesting thing which you need to focus on. And then yesterday regarding functions, we had a question that how to enforce that we only take integers when we do some addition or addition operation inside functions. Something like define add. Okay, you have argument a comma b, and then you are trying to say print a plus b, or print f a plus b and now this is what something I want to call. I'll say add of, instead of giving integers, I will give strings 10 comma 10. And then now you can see what happens. Okay, I'll just comment this here. Yeah, you can see addition 1010. Actually, what we were expecting 20. So how do you enforce that you only take integers here but not strings or floats, or maybe any other data type especially? This is one of the question which we had. So there are two ways to do this. One is the very simple method is that we can simply call int here and int here. Okay, and then when I probably supply this thing, it throws an error. Oh, I think my ID is actually having the older version. The other way to do is basically you can use try except block. So try. Firstly, I'll check if a is int or not. A is int. If a is int and b is int, then you will kind of print this. Else what is this error? Okay, if a is int and b is int, except of finally. So now you will again write except exception as e, and you will say raise exception. So if this is not satisfying, so if there is any error in this particular section, then you will kind of print a message saying that your data type is wrong, or maybe you can simply say your input data is wrong. Actually, I am not sure whether you can directly use is for data type. Okay, instead, let's say instead of a, let's say type of a, int type of B, because that is what we use for identifying data types. Oh. Okay. Equal to int int. Okay, this is also not working. Okay, let me check once. Print type of A, what we are, okay, sorry, type of 10. Okay, we are having class int inside these braces, so we should be getting you can also like let me once check python.org. Documentation. Okay. Okay, when this structure has been changed, we'll have default functions in Python. Default functions in Python. Built-in functions, yes. So here we can, we can use is instance. This is what I was searching for, is instance. Let me replace this with is instance, and inside let me pass a comma int, and the same thing I will say is instance b comma int. I'll just put both in one single thing, and then except why it is not throwing any exception. It should work. Somewhere I am doing some mistake. Else print NA. Okay, it is printing NA, nothing but it is failing here. Okay. I can simply raise an error here as well, but I don't want to do that. I want to use try except block only. Raise value error, then say inputs data is wrong. This way it will throw an error for sure. Yeah, it is now showing an error saying that your input data is wrong. But this is something it is throwing right now. But why it is not throwing earlier is my problem. But yeah, now you can simply see that both like the error is being called here as this block is failing. It is also calling except, and it is also printing that your input data is wrong and input data is wrong. Both the things are printed, but I wanted to remove this and only show with except, which is failing. Somehow it is not working. I will check and revert back tomorrow. But for now, you can see that the process is failing when both the numbers are not integers. I'll also show without strings. And now you can see that it adds up to 20. But even if I probably pass on one integer and one string, still it throws some error. Okay, you see, first iteration we got 20, second iteration we got error saying that you cannot put the string. This is one good thing that you need to learn when you are writing code. One other thing I want to ask is, what if you have n number of inputs? What if you don't have only 2 arguments? What if you have 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 100 arguments? Then what you do? Now I don't want to only add 2 numbers. I want to add 100 numbers. That is what my situation. So what is that change you do here, which can take 100 number, like any number of dynamic inputs. You can give 2, you can give 3, you can give 4, 5, 6, whatever it is. Actually, I am saying that you need to do something in the argument area so that instead of taking only 1 or 2 inputs, it will take 100 inputs, 1000 inputs dynamically. See, one solution is that you can simply use a list and then pass on the list and then do sum of the list. And inside the list, you can give any number of values. But what I want to kind of ask you is, the number of arguments are dynamic. So one time I will give 1 only, next time I will give 10, next time I will give 20, 30, 40, 50. I don't have any definitive idea how many numbers I have to add. I will dynamically choose when to add how many numbers. So there is one syntax here. You can use star. Okay, let me put this as it is and then kind of copy. So instead of add AB, here it is, add AB. Instead of add AB, I'll say star args. So nothing but I am giving some arguments. I don't know how many arguments I'll be giving. Okay, so I can pass on any n number of arguments which I want. So what I'll simply do, I'll change something here because see, I don't have only 2 numbers A and B. I have so many numbers, okay, or dynamic numbers which I don't know how many I have. Okay, it is basically, you can assume it to be a tuple. So what happens in this tuple is what we need to change here. Now I will say the same thing I will use if all of is instance arguments comma integer, then for argument in arguments. So this is what I'm doing. You can see this one line of for loop I have used earlier as well. So what simply I'm doing here, I am looping over each argument of whatever the numbers I am giving. I am checking if that is an integer or not. So if it is an integer, if all of these particular situations satisfy, if all of these are true, if this condition satisfies, then I'll say print sum of args. So no matter how many numbers I give, it keeps on adding. Okay, so right now we don't need all this if else. It is kind of confusing us, right? So I'll just simply say I'll instead of 10 comma 10, I'll give 10 more, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, 3, 4, 6. Randomly, I gave this many numbers. Here, I'll just add on, rename it to add 1, just to kind of show you the difference. I'll remove this. What happened? Okay, here it is an error. I'll not call this. I'll only call this. Now you can see the addition is 175. So no matter how many numbers I dynamically give, even if I now give 1000 numbers as well, it will add up 1000 numbers and give the result appropriately without having any issue. So when you when you don't know how many numbers or how many arguments you are gonna pass, okay, you can always use star arguments. Nothing but you can this will say the function that I am dynamically using any number of arguments. The user itself doesn't know how many arguments he may pass, so you always choose any number of arguments he takes, and accordingly your code has to be modified to address this issue. Okay, so instead of addressing only one variable called a or b, here we are addressing all the arguments together. That is one thing you need to kind of learn in functions, especially because not all the times you know how many arguments you pass. You may encounter a situation you may have to dynamically pass any number of arguments. I can wait for a minute to try out this. Please let me know once done. Let's see two more concepts for today. It's already 10:05, 10:06. Small concepts. One from like what dictionaries, and one is tuples, and then we can kind of end for today. Yep. So next comes, what if you want to kind of do the operation and show the element at the same time. Something like now I want to loop over maybe 1 to 5. I want to loop over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to print the numbers in such a way that print the squares of these numbers. So I want to print firstly saying that square of 1 is 1. Okay. And then square of 2 is 4. Then square of 3 is 9. And so on. So I want to print something like this. Okay, let me add it in it. I want to print something like this. I have 5 numbers. I want to loop over 5 numbers. For each number, I want to print the square of this number. Can anybody try the solution for this? There are 2 ways. The shortcut way, which I am going to tell right now. The other way is simply a for loop. And you have to figure out what you need to do inside for loop to print such in such way. I will give you 1 minute or 2 minutes, try out, or else I will reveal the solution in both the ways. Do you need a minute more, or do you want me to reveal the solution? Let me tell you. Yeah, for I in simply 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is my list, and then I'll say print I, or you can simply say F, because I said I want to print as a string. Okay, so I'll just say F inside double quotes, inside single quotes. I'll use flower braces and then say I'll pass I. Oh, sorry. Comma. Sorry. I want to pass a colon, comma, then I square. Okay, when I run this, okay, let me comment. Yeah, let me run this. Yeah, you can see you probably get, okay, here what we could simply do is we'll have some keyword called end that you can just replace that with space, which will not print everything in a new line. Or you can simply also replace with comma. And you can see 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9, 4, 16, 5, 25. This one you need to check. I think this is something which you are seeing for the first time. This is a keyword which says what you need to do end of the line. Okay, so when you are printing multiple lines or multiple elements, automatically Python will print it in a new line. When you don't want it to be printing it on a new line, you can simply call this argument and replace that new line with comma or space or any other character. Okay, so by default, it will be this character, escape character, which this is a new line character. You can see it will be as usual like before. Okay, so if I replace this with a comma, it will be in a single line. Is this clear? This is one solution. Okay, so the other way of doing the same is you can do it with simple dictionary. Okay, so I'll just say simply squares is my variable. Okay, so I'll just pass on the dictionary, then say x colon x square for x in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can also use I. Okay, I am just using X to show the difference, but I is also fine. No worries. So whatever the character you use here can be used here, and simply let me print squares. And you see. From until till here to here, it is the first print statement. Okay, or let me comment this 66, 67 and only print the down. Yeah, you can see the same thing which you got it. You can also enforce the same thing like F and then given flower braces, then start with double brace and single brace. This will also convert that into thing. Okay, you can see, or you can also use single. Inside dictionary is not required to have double. Yeah. So this one and this one is same, but the memory allocation and the process time will very much vary when you are using for loop separately using a list and dictionary. And when you are even calling the elements again back to see what is the square of what number, dictionary is a more better practice. Is this clear? Okay, so next comes one last topic for today. which is a named tuple. So what if you want to name the points inside the tuple? Something like maybe you are drawing some graphs and you have point x, point y, and you want to name that it is a point x and that is point y. How do you name that values inside a tuple is what we see today. Okay, so we have some library called collections. We can say from collections. There are so many very daily useful functions in collections which you can explore. Okay, just check what is functions in collections or methods in collections. You will find a lot. Okay, from collections, import named tuple. So this is one very important or everyday used when you are creating some graphs. Okay, because you want to give some names to your x and y points. Okay, so that is when this named tuple is very much used. Okay, so now we have something called as point. I'll take a variable called point equals to, I'll call named tuple. Inside named tuple, okay, I'll just say I have point. This point is my x, comma, my y. Okay, so now what I probably did was I said I am creating a tuple which can take some names. Okay, for two numbers x and y. Okay, that is what I have defined in line number 74. Okay, and then what I will do right now is I will take one more. This is something like creating a function. In line number 74, this is something like we are creating a function. Okay, now I'll say p is equals to point. See, I'm calling the function which I created above. This is the function point I created and I'm calling the function. And this point now takes two variables. Okay, which is x and which is y. Okay, so now you can simply say 1, 2, or you can also say x equals to 1. Oh, sorry. X equals to 1, y equals to 2. Both are same. Nothing is wrong. Okay, so 1, 2. I'll just take 1, 2 for now. Okay, then I'll say print p dot x, p dot y. You see, it printed 1, 2 here. You can pass on any numbers here. Like instead of 1, 2, you can pass on any numbers. So what we are exactly doing is we are kind of giving names to these numbers point 1, 2 as dot x and dot y, and wherever we need dot x and dot y, we can use while creating some graphs. So our actual agenda for today was to kind of take a scenario from Excel sheet and do some operations using pandas and statistics and use Matplotlib library to kind of come up with some visualizations. As we thought to cover very rare things in Python, we exhausted today's class with only these methods. Tomorrow, I'll definitely cover pandas plus Matplotlib library together, so that it will be clear for you to kind of work on complete scenario. I think some of these things which you saw today were very rare, or maybe which you haven't seen earlier. Please check some built-in functions like this, which will come in handy very well. See also how to raise exceptions like this, raise value error or raise exception. This is for custom exception. This is for value error. Okay, and also see dot args. Where did we do that? Star args or dot args, which will take dynamic what number of arguments in functions. So these are very day-to-day used things, but may not be covered until in any of the basic Python tutorials. So maybe noting down these things somewhere will help, because some of these topics are also questions in interviews. Something, especially this star args, is a very important questions in any entry-level Python interview. So they'll ask how to pass on dynamic number of inputs in a function or arguments in a function. So the answer is you are gonna give star args as an argument, which will take any number of arguments or any number of parameters. You can use any terminology. So this is one important question. And in collections, you also have so many things like map, reduce, filter. I'll just write here. It is not possible to cover everything as well. Just check map, reduce, filter functions, which are very helpful, very like what this can come up in a very handy way when you need shortcuts to do some filtrations in a list or map something to some value. Okay, so these three syntaxes I strongly recommend to kind of check. So and tomorrow we'll see pandas and other things, and then we'll see. I'll address any questions if you have. Yep. Thank you, guys. I'll wait for 5 more minutes to see if you have any questions.